Hi, everyone. I'm Carly.
And I'm Sophia.
And this is Away She Goes, a podcast from girls who travel.
Each episode will help you feed your wanderlust with travel tips, stories, inspiration, and more. Away she goes.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Away She Goes. Today, Sophia and I are going to be doing another destination episode. This time, we're going to talk about Sweden. Before we recorded, Sophia and I joked this is the first destination episode where we have both actually been to the place that we're talking about. Finally, after, 3 years of Away She Goes?
Yep.
Something like that.
4 years.
That being said, I only have very limited experience in Sweden. I was only there for a day, so I'm going to let Sophia take 99% of this, but there is one city where I will also be able to contribute. But yeah, this is the first time we have both been to the destination that we're talking about. So today we're talking about Sweden. The capital is Stockholm. The official language is Swedish, but there are also several minority languages. There's Sami, there's Finnish, there's Meänkieli, there's Romani, and then there is Yiddish as well. And Sweden's population is just over 10 million. It's one of the countries in Scandinavia. So, Sophia, I think the main question that somebody would probably have when they're looking to book a trip to Sweden is, when should I go? When is the best time of year to go?
Well, that really depends on what you want to experience. Do you want to have some lovely weather, some like lush green forests, long summer nights? Do you want snow, some coziness, darkness, and maybe the northern lights? Or do you want something in the middle, which is like miserable weather? You're going to have some days where you'll have a Gilmore Girls fall, and then you'll have some times when you'll have a Twilight fall vibes. Yeah, my friend and I sang that a lot to each other while on hikes. In northern Sweden, we were just like, ha, ha, ha.
Oh, I would have done the same thing. I would have done the same thing.
It was so fun.
So it really depends on...
Really, you can go any time of year. You need to make it work for what you want to do.
And just for the sake of our discussions, I went in December of 2022. So I was there in winter, the dead of winter. It was cloudy, it was cold.
Yeah.
It was dark. That was my experience, my very limited experience.
Yeah, and I've been there in summer and then in fall as well.
So you've had both.
Yeah.
You kind of had two. Okay.
I had multiple trips to Sweden.
I do want to go back because it is on my bucket list to go to the Midsummer Festival.
Yeah.
And I didn't get to do that when I went, so I will go back to Sweden for sure.
Nice.
So what route do you, because you've obviously been several times, like what do you recommend if somebody really wants to see a lot of the country or more than one place? Like what are kind of the things that people should focus on? What route should somebody take?
Yeah. So as you might have read, the episode is titled Sweden by Train or by Night Train. So what I highly recommend is go by train, especially like if you live in Denmark, Germany, Poland, Finland, somewhere close. You can totally take your car, you can easily take a ferry, that's also a good idea, and then drive around. But if you're from somewhere like the US, for example, or you just really don't like driving, or maybe it's the dead of winter and you're scared of driving with like icy, snowy, dark conditions, then I think a train journey is really good way to go. Especially night trains are big in Sweden, and like the Swedish railway system is actually quite well connected within itself. So the route I took was I went from Germany to Malmö. Then I took a day train to Stockholm. From there, I took a night train to Umeå, but we also considered taking a nighttime train to Åre. And then from there, we went to Göteborg, and then from there, I went back to Germany. And most of it was by night train, really just Malmö, Stockholm was day train, which I love night trains, and we'll come back to that in a little bit as well. But it's just, It's so practical because you don't have to spend extra money on accommodation. So in Stockholm, I spent the whole day, but I didn't have to sleep there or, yeah, get a hostel.
And the best thing about a night train too is like you fall asleep, in theory, in one place, and then you wake up and you're somewhere new. So not only do you not
Yes.
have to pay extra for accommodation, but your transportation is also taken care of, and you just kind of go to sleep and wake up, and there you are, and you're ready to start your day.
Yes. And I found the night trains in Sweden to be very cheap. Like, I
Hmm.
think for one, I think our cheapest one was 35 euros, which in
Wow.
Germany, like, you're lucky if you get a fast train ticket for that price if you book super early. Like, the most expensive like night train tickets were the ones that cross back to Germany, and I think that cost me 130 or something along
Still
those
not bad
lines.
though.
No.
All right, so before and like you said, we will discuss night trains in more detail. Can you tell us kind of a little bit more about some of the cities that you went to? What were the highlights? You started in Malmö, correct?
Yes, I did start in Malmö. I went to visit a friend, and despite me saying, "Hey, you don't have to take me on a tour. I know you have friends come here, and like, I know it sucks taking them on a tour." She's like, "No, no, I'll take you on the tour. That's what we're doing." So I was very grateful. I didn't have to do any research previously to going, and now you don't have to either because this is your research. So the library is really pretty from the outside and also quite cool from the inside because it's a mix of an old building together with, it sounds a bit weird, but it's like a dice, like of just glass kind of that's attached to it. And it's really pretty. You can get some nice Bookstagram content there. And it's also not too far from the castle, the Malmöhus, as it's called. You can also go inside. We didn't because I'm not too much of a history fan, and there's a lot of World War II history where it's very debatable if the Swedes are remembering it all correctly or not. So, yeah,
Little
let's not.
selective memory.
Yeah, a little selective memory because there was something about getting the prisoners from the Arbeitslager in Nazi Germany. But they were also still very particular about the people that they saved from there. So it's like doing a good thing, but not fully thinking it through, kind of. Anyway, this is not a history podcast.
No, it is not.
Another nice thing you can do if you're there in summer, but also I did it in fall, you can walk on the beach or along the shore of the North Sea there. No, it's the Baltic Sea. Yeah, it's the Baltic Sea. And you can walk the whole way from the Öresund Bridge that connects Malmö to Denmark, to Copenhagen. And you can see Copenhagen either at night, you can see the glistening lights over the Öresund Channel, and you can also walk from there to the Turning Torso, which also looks really spectacular at night.
It does. That's when I saw it was at night.
Yeah.
It's really cool looking.
Yeah, much more impressive than at daytime. We're like, well, it's a nice building, but at night it's like, oh, it comes to life.
Yeah.
Like you have the lights.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Way better. The city center is also really pretty and just has some really, really nice buildings. If you're into painting buildings by any chance, then there's some good ones too. Like, because we saw someone sitting there live painting one of the buildings. So that's something cool to do. The historic city hall. And there's also Sweden's oldest pharmacy, Leonet. Not sure if I pronounced that correctly at all. But that's the theme here anyway. And that was really cool to see from the inside as well, because it's still open and it's still a pharmacy. If you want to have lunch in the city, definitely make a reservation. We were so lucky. We had a reservation for the evening, but then canceled that because we were there at lunch on chance, and we got the last table. Yeah, the restaurant opened as we walked there, and there was already a queue, and we got the last table. And it gets super busy at lunchtime, especially if you're there at paycheck weekend, which my friend told me about. So you get your wage once a month, and the weekend after, people are apparently more trigger happy when it comes to spending it.
That makes sense. Yeah, by the
Yeah,
end of the month, you're probably like ice cubes for dinner, everybody.
yep, exactly. There's also a lot of pretty parks, which in fall still very pretty. I can attest for that. And something that my friend also didn't like either, there's the disgusting food museum, which we just find like very culturally insensitive. And I just wanted to make you aware that it's a thing apparently and bring some awareness how that's like not nice, so to say, because I
Justice
get
for the disgusting foods.
like yes, you're gonna find it disgusting to eat, I don't know, hoofs or something, but for some indigenous people somewhere that's a delicacy or something.
Mm.
And as a vegan, the cow is already
I
disgusting
was
to
gonna
me.
say you
So really,
probably think
like,
a lot of stuff's
what is
disgusting
disgusting
already.
food anyway? So
Yeah.
I'm not quite on board with the concept.
Yeah. Should go there for some snack attack. It's imagine. Like, hi guys, I'm here at the Disgusting Food Museum in Sweden. I'm gonna try all sorts of things today. Imagine. I'm like, I give this a 0. I give this a 1. Like throwback to the snack attack days.
Oh yeah, and this is definitely -10.
Yeah. All
I
right.
have to shift the scales for that.
Yeah, I know. Like 1 to 5 isn't gonna cut it.
No.
All right. So after Malmö, you went to Stockholm next, right?
Yes. I went to Stockholm. I kind of took the train from Malmö in the morning so that I had enough time in Stockholm to see the city a little bit. And also because I was scared I'd miss my night train if my day train kind of connection was delayed or something. And anyway, it was really nice to just walk around a little bit. We put our backpacks in the lockers at the train station and then walked through the parliament and the castle, right in the city center, quite close to the train station, sat a little bit in the harbor, went to Gamlastan, which is a really cute neighborhood with little shops and restaurants, quite touristy, but also so cute. Also where the Nobel Prize center is.
That's cool.
Yeah. And also it was currently, I was there in the time where they were holding the celebrations. Yeah.
Oh,
That
that's
was,
cool.
I think, the same week or something. Like, it wasn't that day, but it was, like, all very prepared.
So they had stuff like set up and
Yeah.
everything for it. That's cool.
Some, like, flags and banners. And there's also the ABBA Museum and, like, so many more museums. I think there's, like, a photography museum and everything. But if you're really into ABBA or Mamma Mia or anything like that, yeah, I want to say I highly recommend it, but I didn't go because it's a bit further outside and I was only there for, I think, 8 hours.
Our previous guest, Allie Ward, would love that. Remember,
Oh,
she was
yeah.
big into it. Yeah.
I remember.
So, Allie, if you're listening, time to go to Stockholm. She
Oh,
probably
yeah.
has already been. All right. And your next stop was Umeå?
Yes. That was the first night train I took was from Stockholm to Umeå. And yeah, I'm not going to talk much about the night train now. I'll dial down on that.
Get there.
But in Umeå itself, there's honestly not a lot to do in the city. It's very small, very up north. The library again was quite pretty. But if you're lucky, in Umeå is far north, but not quite close to the Arctic Circle because, oh my God, the Arctic Circle is so far.
So far north.
And that's Umeå is like the northernmost you can go with night trains because there are other night trains, but they only run seasonally. So when I went, that was the furthest we could go. Or if you're there in summer, you'll probably experience some midnight sun or at least pretty much light all day round. Outside of the town, though, it's very beautiful for hiking spots, which is probably true for the entire country, to be fair. But that's where me and my friend stayed for a few days in a little cabin. We got a rental car so we could go to the best hiking spots, and it was very nice, very twilight, I have to say. But that's just because we had constant bad weather when we were there.
So I was gonna say it should be noted that for this recent trip that Sophia did, you were there actually for a Northern Lights.
Yes, this was supposed to be a Northern Lights
It was,
episode, you
it was
guys.
supposed to be a Northern Lights episode. I know. So we had to deviate a little bit. We had planned. She's like,
Yeah,
"Oh, I'm gonna go to Sweden," and I'm like, "Oh, perfect. We'll do this episode." And then
no.
when she came back, I was like, "So how was it?" And she was like, "We didn't see the lights." And I was like,
It was constantly cloudy
"Yeah."
when we
And
were in
then
Umeå.
to make matters worse, I live in upstate New York, and literally like the same week you were on your
Yeah.
trip, we were able to see them really, really clearly from where I live. And Sophia, I remember texting because I posted them on social media. Sophia basically texted me and was like, "What the fuck? Like, I traveled all the way to
Yes.
Sweden. I'm on night train." And she goes, "And you're in your goddamn backyard and you could see them." And I was like,
Yes.
pretty much. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Also, because that week I was up there, they were so intense.
They
You could
were.
see them from Hamburg, where I usually live. Not with your naked eye, with a camera, but still, my neighbors were sending pictures, and I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And all I see is clouds.
Yeah. Ours
But
ours
then,
were visible with the naked eye, but they're obviously much more intense
yeah,
on the camera, but ours like you could see the pink and the green in the sky. It was just kind of it was faded, but it was visible. That's
nice.
so frustrating. Oh,
It's
yeah,
so
I
frustrating, especially because we were like, okay, we have the rental car, we can go somewhere else. But we looked, and from the Norwegian border all the way up to like where Sweden meets Finland, it was, and all the way down to Stockholm was just a giant cloud
clouds.
swallowing all of northern Sweden. And we were like, okay, fuck.
And that's the problem with Northern Lights is
Yeah.
people, especially when you're going somewhere like Iceland or Sweden or Finland or Norway to see the Northern Lights. The problem usually isn't your latitude, it's the weather. Like if you're that far north in the winter, they probably are there. It's just a matter of if the clouds are in the way or
Yeah.
not, usually, especially that week because they were so intense anyway. Yeah, I joked with Sophia. I was like, how to see the Northern Lights? Go out into your backyard. The end. That was our episode. That was it. That was the episode. Don't travel to Sweden because you could have seen them at home. So yeah,
Yeah.
so just a side note, this was the reason, Sophia, one of the reasons you were so far north was because you were
Exactly. We were
trying
not
to
there for the
see.
beautiful weather.
No, not that time of year. No.
No.
And your next city as well, same thing. Kind of the main reason you went there was because of the possibility of Northern Lights, right?
Exactly. Like, actually, I didn't go to Ore, but we considered it.
Okay.
We had the options because the night train actually splits. So it goes from Stockholm, it splits, and one part goes to Umeå and the other one goes to Ore. And then the same on the way back to Göteborg. There's two night trains, one from Umeå, one from Ore. They meet somewhere and then they become one train and go together to Göteborg.
Okay.
So we had to decide which one we wanted to go to. And if you want to go to Ore, you might be more lucky because it's a ski resort. So you can go skiing, snowboarding, all the winter sports. We were obviously there in fall, so that's why we decided against it, because there's nothing more depressing than like a winter sport village
And no
if
snow.
it's not winter.
Yeah.
Like sometimes if they branch out and you also have a lot of great hiking stuff, it's not as depressing.
Yeah,
But
some of them will pivot. Like even here, we have a ton of like ski centers. A lot of them pivot and do fall activities too.
nice. Yeah, because I've been to places and it's just dead. It's like those seaside places after summer.
It's
Also
just
just dead.
crickets.
Yeah.
All right. And your last stop was Göteborg. You say it right?
Yes. Göteborg. Actually, we also visited friends in Trollhättan, but that's a very small town, so I didn't feel like including it. But so for Göteborg, we had guides, which was very nice, and we didn't have to like look stuff up, plan
It's always
stuff.
nice.
And in Göteborg, I've been before, but this time I've only been for a few hours again because it was kind of our layover before we took the night train from Göteborg, in my case, home to Hamburg. And some things you can do there is another cute neighborhood with little shops and restaurant. It's called Haga
So
Nygata.
Swedish. So
Yes,
European.
it's so Swedish. Or well, yeah. Yeah, you're right. It's
European.
European.
Yeah.
And it's like not the main shopping street, so it's a bit more cutesy and not as super busy shopping spree. There's also public animal enclosures in the Slotskogen, which translates to castle forest. And they have moose, deer, reindeer. They had some mice as well. They have a lot of random stuff. No, mice, you make a very disgusting face. No, they had like,
I don't like mice.
they had a huge enclosure. It was like a terrarium kind of. Very shallow but very tall with a lot of branches and stuff. And these mice, they were tiny. I think they might have been dwarf mice or something like that.
Okay.
And they were tiny and they were just skitting around. It was so cute. Also, a cat was lying in front of it.
I bet it was.
So that was so funny.
The cat's probably like trying to get in there.
Yeah, like, can one of you come out?
Yeah, like how do I get in here?
And there's also penguins for some
There's
reason.
penguins.
There's
I love
also penguins. Oh, and there's like mostly it's like very much local animals, right? Like moose, reindeer, yeah. And then there's penguins.
And then there's penguins from the
Just like-
literal opposite side of the world.
Yeah, and you're like, what the fuck? How did they
Did you
get
see
here?
that penguin on that beach in Australia?
Yeah.
They like ended up there, and the family's on the beach, and there's this like big emperor penguin just like chilling on the beach with them.
Yeah,
Speaking of penguins, where they're not supposed to be.
exactly.
Little side track.
Ooh, and seals. They also have some seals there.
Seals are cool.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a pretty nice park to just promenade through anyway, but that's quite cool because you don't have to go to a moose park or something to see them. And also, Göteborg has a very nice coast and archipelago, a bit more outside of the city, which I visited on my prior trip to Göteborg. You can take little boat trips, things like that, and it's more of a summer thing than a fall thing. Although I have to say, when we were in Göteborg, we finally had our Gilmore Girls fall and not our Twilight autumn. Yeah.
All right. So we've touched on it throughout the episode, and now we're going to share with our listeners how to navigate the night train. And we probably will do a how-to episode at some point because I have also done a night train. I've done one in Asia, though, not in Europe, but similar enough idea. But we're going to just do like a quick overview here, too, of how to navigate a night train. So what bunk do you recommend? Because it's like flying where you have different tiered options of what you want to do.
So maybe before which bunk, I keep forgetting because I'm too cheap for that. But there's also like you can book a private cabin. That's probably the most luxurious, your first class option kind of. And you can also just book a seat, which is the worst option. It's not even economy. It's flying in the belly of the plane, basically.
Nope.
That's how shit that is.
Nope.
So what I booked is like a couchette, I think it's called. So when it's still in day mode, there's 6 seats, and then you can switch it to night mode by folding out the backrest to create the middle bunk, and then the top and bottom are usually always extended. So which of those bunks do you want? That is a very good question, because how strong are you? Can you lift your luggage to the top bunk? Can you even lift it to the middle bunk, or should you just stay at the bottom? Or you can also, there's usually luggage compartments where you can put your luggage as well. But that might not something you want to do, depending on how anxious you are about your luggage being very far and unsupervised from you. Also, how flexible and nimble are you? Because climbing up that very small ladder...
I wasn't climbing up. I didn't do that. I slept on the bottom. I was not climbing. I made my friend do it.
Yeah.
We didn't even have a ladder. We had...
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. That's why I was like, well, I guess I ain't doing that. On our train in Vietnam, we had... It was like this little metal thing. So we had 4 in a room. We had 2 bottom and then 2 top. We basically had 2 bunk beds. So the top bunks, there were no ladders. There was next to the beds, there was like this little metal flap that folded up into the wall and you
Just
folded
like a
it
step,
down. But
a
it was
single
like, it was
step.
literally like the
Oof.
size of my hand. It wasn't even like a full, you kind of had, so my friend who was in the military, so luckily was experienced in very questionable sleeping quarters. She's like, I got this. And I was like, okay, you do that. So yeah, you basically had to like, and the step was really high up too. It wasn't even like a normal height off the ground. So she had to like stretch her leg and then like pull herself up
God.
onto the step and then get onto the bed from there. So we didn't even have ladders. We
Oh,
had a
yikes.
metal fold down steppy thing in the wall.
We were
So
scared of that because we didn't know that the ladder, when the middle bunks are down, the ladder is hiding behind one of the middle bunks.
I wonder if
And
we
we
had
were
a
like,
ladder and didn't realize it. Probably not.
where's the ladder?
Yeah, no, we had a step. So I will emphasize flexibility, nimble. Like, are you
Yes.
physically able? Could not have done that. A ladder I could have
Yes.
done. The steppy thing in the wall wasn't happening.
Because also it's not just the ladder. Usually you also have to like climb over a little railing.
On the bed.
Yeah.
Hmm.
To get up
Yep.
there. Also, how much do you value your privacy? Because
Yeah.
I generally, when I travel, I don't like being perceived. I don't want people looking at me. I don't want people to recognize that I exist at all. And on some days where like I'm not feeling too social. So for me, that was like, yeah, I want the top bunk. I'm nimble enough. I can lift my luggage. That's fine. But then one thing
Everybody
I
don't
didn't
look at me.
account for, it's gonna be warm on the top.
Yeah.
So if you're really like heat sensitive, if you like the heat, you might want to go up. If you don't like the heat, you might want to go down.
All right. So what did you need on the train? Like, did you, because some are different, but like, did you need your bedding? Did you need food? Like, let us know what you needed or not.
So with the Swedish trains that we took, bedding is provided. Again, if you're really cold, you might want to bring an extra blanket or an extra sleeping bag or something. There is always a board restaurant. I wasn't familiar with the opening hours, and then again, they didn't really have any breakfast vegan options unless you want to have a spicy burrito for breakfast, which I don't judge you, but it's not my jam. My breakfast needs to be sweet, so I took breakfast, and then another time I think I took dinner as well onto the train. But they had water. They had some additional water packs for everyone. That was quite nice. And then you'll need all your regular stuff. You need your PJs, sleeping mask, earplugs or noise cancelling headphones, in ear preferably, so you can sleep with them and don't break them. And you want all of that stuff to be easily accessible. You don't want to rummage around, especially if your boarding time is after some people already sleep. So like if you're not the first stop and you want to be quick and you want to be quiet.
Or if you're the top bunk and it's 2 a.m. and you realize, oh, my earplugs are in my suitcase under the bottom bunk's
Yes.
bed.
Oh God,
Yeah.
I have the worst story for that.
Did you do that?
No, I didn't. My earplugs, I have them in like a tiny little satchel, and it dropped on the bunk below me because I didn't
Oh,
know that there was such a big gap between the bed and
in
the
the wall.
wall, and it dropped down, and the girl was already asleep, and I was like panicking because I was like, I can't sleep without them,
No. Oh, no. What did you
and
do?
I tried to stealthily grab them, but then I dropped my phone on her. No. And then
No.
yeah, and then she was like, "Oh, here's your phone." I'm like, "I'm so sorry." And also, can you give me my earplugs?
Yeah, by the way, while I'm dropping things on you, can you grab those? Sorry.
I felt so bad, but I was so glad that I got them
Oh,
back
no.
because yeah. And also that's a mistake you only make once. After that, you're like, I quite like wearing a lanyard now because then I just clip shit to that. It's like,
God.
you're not getting away from
I can
me.
just imagine your panic when you dropped that phone. The earplugs were one thing. The earplugs, you would have just been like, oh, fuck. The phone, you were probably like,
No, I was already halfway in a panic attack because of the earplugs because I was like, oh no, but I need to sleep, but
I
I
need
can't
them.
sleep because it's so loud.
It is loud.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Well, something you also want to think about is bringing some entertainment in case you cannot sleep or you sleep really badly. So you want to have a book or a TV show or something to just keep you entertained and keep your sanity intact. Because let me tell
The
you, it's
the night
fragile.
yeah, the night I was on the train, I was sick. I had like a head
Oh,
cold.
shit.
So that's already, I'm miserable if I have a head cold in my own bed, in my own house. Now imagine I'm in Vietnam on a 15-hour sleeper train ride with a
Ah,
head
that's
cold.
brutal. I think
You
my
haven't
longest was
lived.
12 hours, and that was already.
You have not lived until you've spent 15 hours on a sleeper train with a head cold. Let me tell you something. Oh, so tissues.
Yeah,
Yeah,
all
bring
the regular
bring
essentials.
stuff. Yeah.
And if you're a bad sleeper, and I'm not saying take sleeping meds, I'm saying consider talking to your doctor or pharmacist about sleep meds
Yeah.
because you generally sleep slightly worse in a sleeper train. You can also bring your own pillow, or in my case, something very niche, something I'm still very happy I dragged around through all of Sweden though, is a tiny sleeping mat, which just fit from below my shoulder to slightly under my hip, because I have a waist, and that's not accounted for when it's a very very hard bunk bed. So that
I was
that
gonna
helped me
ask
quite a
how
bit.
hard your bed
Yeah.
was.
Oh, very hard.
That's probably a universal thing. It was like a rock. I think I would have been more comfortable on the floor. No, honestly, I think I was like, the floor is softer than this bed somehow. I don't know how like a soft surface can be that hard, but it was.
Right.
It was so, I was like, I don't know how this is like physically possible that this thing is this uncomfortable.
Yeah. Then again, I was in a hotel for a work trip a few days ago, and the couch was better than the bed.
Oh
I
no.
was like, does this pull out? Can I sleep on the couch instead of the
Ugh,
bed?
God. All right. So if you sleep badly, how do you kind of handle that when you get to
Yeah.
your next destination?
I can tell you quite a lot about that because I'm not a
Yeah,
good,
can
I'm not a good sleeper. I don't need a sleeper train for like to have a shit night.
you?
I can do that all by myself in my own bed. Thank you
You're
very
like,
much.
I don't even need a bad bed to do that.
No. So I'd highly recommend you plan for a chill day, or at least have the option to make it a chill day. So you could go for a spa visit, a bus tour, a boat tour, or if you don't feel like doing much at all, you can either stay in a cafe, or if you want to save some money and not feel like a nuisance to the personnel, go to a library. It's quiet. You have electricity. You probably have Wi-Fi as well. There's a lot of books in case you want to read one. And yeah, it's quite agreeable. It's what I did in Umeå. That's why I like the library there so much.
Just had a chill day. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then do you have any other tips for how to survive a night train?
Yes. So if you can sleep on your back, sleep on your back, because it's very bumpy. You probably also had that experience, or okay, yeah, from your face, I can read that
Mm-hmm.
yours was bumpy too.
Extremely.
Yeah. And sleeping on my side one night when we went from Umeå to Göteborg, I was, I had vertigo for like most of the day.
Jeez.
I just felt like everything moved around me because I got shaken so much because I sleep on my side.
I do too.
And yeah, so for the train from Göteborg, or technically Malmö to Hamburg, then I tried sleeping on my back, and that was a lot better. So
Did you take like motion sickness pills or anything like that?
no, because I don't get motion sick anymore.
I do.
I very rarely get motion sick, and usually it's just if it's like a very bad boat ride or something. I didn't expect to get vertigo from a stupid train.
I get it so easily. So I always like before any flight, I take it before any boat ride because I get seasick, I get
Oh
car
yeah.
sick, I get all kinds of
Oof.
sick. Like if I'm in the front seat of a car, I'm fine.
Yeah.
But then like I've wondered recently because when I take motion sickness pills, like it works so well. So I like gaslit myself. I was like, maybe you don't need them anymore.
Oh no.
And a couple weeks ago, I was in New York City and I was taking an Uber and I was in the back seat of the Uber. Within 10 minutes of me being in
No.
the, I was fighting for my life. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna get sick in this poor man's car. I didn't, but I was like, yep, okay, you still need the motion
Yeah.
sickness pills. bitch. Like, don't gaslight yourself that you don't need them. Yes, you do. Like, oh, you don't get sick. Yeah, because you take the pills. That's why you don't get sick. Stupid. Like,
Yeah.
so
So
I took them for my train ride because I was very nervous about it. And I
definitely.
was fine.
So I guess another tip from both of us is then bring your meds, bring all the meds,
All the meds.
all the meds.
We'll consult with your doctor first.
Yes, definitely.
All right. Really quick before we wrap up, let's just touch on some other kind of highlights of Swedish culture. And then, of course, we couldn't do a destination episode without you teaching us some basic words. We're not going to learn any swear words, or maybe we are. No, we're not. We're not going to learn any swear words. I looked. I could tell they're not swear words because I know what they all mean. Um, so I touched on Midsummer. I really want to go to a Midsummer festival at some point. It's how they celebrate the start of that season. They're like, I'm sure people have seen there's, like the maypole and the May Queen, and there's flowers and they dance around the maypole. It's a very, very important, like, Swedish cultural experience. There's also a very, very good movie called Midsummer. It's really fucked up though,
I
but
was
it's a
gonna
really
say,
good
isn't that a horror movie?
Yes. It's got my girl Florence Pugh in it. She's phenomenal. It's really good, but it's really, really fucked up. So
Oh,
don't watch it unless you have a strong stomach.
yeah, no, thank you.
I know I watched that movie and I was like, I want to go to Midsummer,
Oh, goodness gracious.
but minus like the like messed
The
up parts of that
violence?
movie. Like there's like a cult at one point
Oh,
in the
God.
movie. Like besides all that, like I just want to do like actual Midsummer.
So for some Swedish culture things, so you have fika, which is afternoon, you go for like coffee and treats. So
Oh,
like cinnamon roll, or really good is kladdkaka, which is like chocolate cake. It's more a bit like a brownie like it's very like mushy consistency kind of. It's really good. And then I visited some friends on Friday, and we're like, "What should we eat?" Like they're like, "Oh, we can go traditional. We can do taco fredag," which is just
Taco
you have.
Friday.
It's also it's like the Swedes, we invented this. The Norwegians also, we invented this. And then there's Mexico where they're like, tacos are Mexican food. What is wrong with you, Scandinavia?
Here in the US, we have Taco Tuesday.
No, no,
Different
no.
day.
Yeah, no, it's Taco Friday. I don't know why,
Taco
but
Friday makes more. No, Taco Friday makes more sense to me than Taco
but
Tuesday
it's not
does.
an alliteration. And
I know, but like
Tuesday and
tacos,
Thursday also have the T in Swedish, so, or and Norwegian.
right?
So
But see, to me, tacos are like an easy meal. So to me, it would make sense to have them on a Friday because, like, it's the end of the week. You want something quick and easy. Tuesday, it's just like, why am I eating tacos? But it's a thing. It's definitely a thing.
yeah, I mean, we didn't take the easy route. We had like, because we were four people, we're like, yeah, we're gonna go all out. So we got everything that you can put in a taco essentially. And so preparation took a bit. And then for Saturday, you have Godislördag, and I'm not sure if I'm saying that. No, I think it is Godislördag, where you go to the Swedish candy stores, and lördag is Saturday, and you get sweets. And I think when you're a kid, you get, like, usually that's the day where your parents would take you or something, and then you get like 10 free sweets.
Oh,
And we actually did go to I think they're currently like going viral and stuff, the Swedish or Nordic sweet stores where you go and you have a little bucket or you have a bag and you have little shovels, and then you shovel like yourself the amount of stuff that you want, and it's all just calculated by weight how much you pay.
all right. Would you like to teach us some basic Swedish before we go?
Yes, let's do it. And it's just the very basics. So for saying hello, you say hi. For thank you, you say tack. For yes, you say ja. And for no, you say nej. And that's pretty much it. And if you wonder why you learned maybe some more Swedish on Duolingo and you can't understand anyone, then welcome to Skåne, because in the south of Sweden they have a bit of an accent, and I find it much harder to understand that Swedish dialect than other dialects, because Sweden are very heavy on different dialects, like some of the bigger Nordic countries. Norway as well. And now I really wonder if Denmark has any local variations or if it's too small for that.
I wouldn't know. I couldn't understand to begin with. I'm on the metro and I'm reading the word phonetically. And then the announcer on the train says like, "Oh, next stop." And I was like, that is not how I read that in my head. I was like, wow. Like, I was humbled a lot riding the metro in Copenhagen. I was like, oh, the next stop is like wherever. And then she would say it on the train and I was like, ooh, okay. Not gonna open my mouth anymore. Not gonna say another word on this train. All right, so that is our wrap up on visiting Sweden / taking a night train while you're there. And again, at some point we will do a full how-to episode for night trains specifically, but you got a good little teaser episode there.
And we'll also give you a total rundown then in that episode about how you travel when you get motion sick and for when you a bad sleeper. Because between the two of us, we make one fucked up human being.
We got it covered.
That's all for this episode. If you'd like more Away She Goes in your life, make sure to stop by girlswhotravel.org/podcast. That's where you can fill out a form if you're interested in being a guest on the show. You can also write to us at awayshegoesgwt@gmail.com or leave us a message on our Google voicemail from any phone or computer at 1-563-503-6323. To follow our adventures, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm at Carly Sees the World. Carly is spelled Carli.
You can also follow me at Sophia AEZ, Sophia with a PH. Away She Goes is part of Girls Who Travel, a community dedicated to radically redefining travel to be inclusive, sustainable, and empowering. You can learn more about GWT, find travel tips and support, shop travel-themed items made by GWT members, and join our Facebook group with nearly 100,000 women all around the world at girlswhotravel.org. We can't wait to connect and explore with you. Away she goes.